Hi everyone, I wanted to take some time just to clarify some beginning information that you're going to need to know to start your observations and help you understand how to use this early childhood environment rating scale. If you haven't heard from me, then that means you're good to go as far as observations. That means you've been cleared for your background check and you've submitted your observation site information, and that means you're ready to go. If I had potentially sent you an email that says there's an issue with your background check, then you may not start. If you never submitted your background check information or you never submitted your observation site information, then you are not free to start your observations. I have to have that information before you begin your 15 hours of observation. So what I wanted to do is just give you some information to get you started. As you can see on our screen here, this looks like the cover of your Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale book that you have. This is what you'll be using during your observation, so make sure that you take this book every single time that you go observe, and you will be using this book. This is a sample page in your book. You'll see in your book that it has several different sections that you'll be required to evaluate during your observations. This first page just shows the space and furnishings. Within that space and furnishings section, you'll see that there's multiple areas. So under space and furnishings, you'll see indoor space, furniture for routine care, play, and learning, and so on and so forth. So when you're observing, you're going to be using these pages. You're going to be looking at all these different indicators, and you're going to just check off and make notes of what you're seeing and why each of those indicators either are being met or are not being met. The book does a really nice job of also giving further clarification. You can see this arrow here. If you need notes for clarification on the next page for some of these indicators, it's really good about giving you that information as well. Especially if there's an asterisk, it usually means there's some additional information that you can read on the next page to help you understand what they're talking about. But when you're going in to rate these different things, you're going to go down and look. If there's something that you're seeing in your observation site, then you can go ahead and check it or highlight it or circle it, however you want to keep track of it. That's up to you. That's just a personal decision on how you want to make that decision. And then you're just going to give an average rating. And the ratings are up here, and you can just circle those ratings once you've made the decision on what the best rating would be for that certain area. Obviously, if you're seeing all of these things, if you've seen all these things up to 7.2, then you're going to rate it an excellent. If maybe you're seeing a couple of these things, but maybe one of these things is missing or something here is missing, then you're going to average it a little bit lower. But just use your best judgment on how to rate it. When it comes to this rating scale, there's specific training that teachers and directors go through to learn how to rate it accurately. But again, you don't have that training, so just do it to the best of your ability. I'm not going to, it's really not about the rating. The rating is to help you understand where these different sections rate in the grand scheme of things when it comes to high quality early childhood programs. So it's just to help you understand, is this program inadequate? Is it meeting minimal standards? Is it good or is it excellent? So it's to help you understand where this program is meeting these standards and where it is when it comes to quality early childhood education. So it's okay. It's okay if you're not sure. I'm not going to grade down for ratings and things like that. That's not what the final project is all about. The final project is about you being able to recognize what's appropriate and what's inappropriate, and being able to support that with information about knowing, what developmentally appropriate activities look like, what high-quality interactions with teachers look like. So again, don't get too hung up on the rating itself. So the next thing I wanted to let you know is, so when it comes time to write your paper, so the paper is going to ask you to rate each of these areas. So you don't, since each section has multiple areas, which you'll see this is just the example for space and furnishings. You don't have to go in your paper and talk about each individual section and say, I rated this one a 5, and this is the reason why. I rated this section a 3, and this is why. What you're going to do is just give an average rating for that section. So if you remember back to math, when you average something, you add up each of your scores and divide by the total number of things that you added up. So I went in and just did a sample for the space and furnishing section. My average when I did it mathematically was 5.25. I'm just going to call it a 5. So when it comes time for your paper, when you are going in and you're reflecting on this space and furnishing section, you're going to say, for example, I rated this section a 5, and then here's why. Now, again, if you look at the requirements for this paper, it wants you to include examples from your notes, quotes, diagrams, etc. You're not going to necessarily need to use any diagrams. If you really feel it necessary, that's fine. And you could even attach a photo, just as long as it doesn't have any children in it. So if you felt it necessary, but again, I'm more interested in finding or seeing your examples from your notes, specific quotations, anything like that. So you're going to average your rating for each section, reflect on that average rating in your paper. Again, you don't need to reflect on each individual area in the section, but give key details and examples from your observations to support your rating, to show your understanding of high-quality early childhood programming. In the end, I want to know that you understand what it looks like, you understand child development, you understand developmentally appropriate practice. That's the purpose of this paper, being able to take the information you've learned in class, apply it to a real-world setting, which is your observation, so that I can see that. Another thing the paper is going to require is for you to include quotations. So for example, this section on interaction, it's going to talk about, it's going to ask you to evaluate the interactions of the teachers, the interactions of the children. This is a great section for you to use direct quotations. Give me an example of a conversation you heard a teacher having with a student that supports developmentally appropriate practice, that supports a high-quality interaction, that's helping to support that child's development. So give me quotations. So make sure when you're observing to take notes and write down conversations that you're having to illustrate that point. So that's something that I'm going to look at as well. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention is in the activity section. You don't need to go into each specific activity that's going on. There is a place for you to list the different learning centers that are in the classroom. You can briefly list the types of things that you're seeing. But again, I want you to give me key examples of activities that the children are involved in and why that's an example of high quality early childhood education. So make sure you're writing down specific activities that are going on. Was there an art activity going on? Were the students able to have free reign of that art activity? Was it about the process, or were the teachers giving them things and showing them that they had to do things specifically? That would be an example of an inappropriate activity. You need to, so all that information that we're learning as we're reading through this textbook is going to come into play, and everything's going to be more clear as we read further into the textbook as the semester goes on. That's why this paper isn't due till the end, because you do need to get through the bulk of this textbook information to understand a lot of what this rating scale is talking about, and for you to be able to understand that as well. So just make sure that you are taking notes and you are getting key information so that you can use that to reflect on. So this is a copy of, this is the observation project, this is the requirements for it. So I just wanted to point out a couple things. Again, make sure that you read through this thoroughly before you start observing, so that you're making sure that you're taking notes on everything you need to have information on to write this paper, to have a successful paper. You're going to need an introduction, and then again, you're just going to reflect on each of those sections in that Ecker's book. And as you open that book and you look through, you're going to see all of these areas reflected. Another thing I wanted to point out too is this conclusion. The conclusion is a huge part of this paper. It's not just a little brief paragraph. It's something that really needs to have a lot of information to, again, reflect your learning and your understanding. So another thing I wanted to direct your attention to that's within these observation project guidelines is the grading rubric. If you really want to know everything that I'm going to be looking for to grade this paper, look at this grading rubric. Again, it's going to give you all that information. Some of the sections have multiple grading points. So again, for activities, make sure that you're meeting this section and in this section. For interactions, make sure, again, giving me specific examples of interaction. So making sure that you are giving me that information. And then again, as I mentioned, this conclusion element, there are 3 different indicators that I'm going to be grading on when I'm looking at that conclusion. So make sure that you are putting all of these different areas in your paper. Again, and then evidence, I'm going to be looking for that too. Using quotations, using examples, maybe going back to your textbook and saying, this supports this theory that I learned about and give me support for that, or this supports this that I learned about and giving me that information. So again, make sure that you are giving me all the information to show that you can take this and apply it in an appropriate way to show me that you have learned everything that you need to learn. That this is our culminating project, and that's what that's a big part of your grade. So I want to make sure you really understand what's expected of this project and the types of things that you need to include in it. This probably won't be my last web video on the observation project as the end of the semester approaches. Again, I will probably do another video to clarify some things further. I may even offer some actual on-site, face-to-face sessions if I find that students are really unsure about how to go about doing this as well. We might be able to schedule something at Harper in one of the computer labs to actually meet face-to-face as an optional thing if you feel that you need that extra help. But I hope just to get started, I know everyone's anxious to go ahead and get their 15 hours of observation started, so I wanted to go ahead and give you this information. I hope it was helpful in getting you started and helping you to understand the types of things you need to take notes on when you're observing and how to use that environmental rating scale. If you do have further questions, please don't hesitate to call me or email me. I don't want you to be confused about this. I do want you to be successful in this project. So that's all I have for now. Again, I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks.